second day, the White House has barred the Associated Press, one of the largest news organizations in the world, from entering the Oval Office during a press conference. This time, it was for the swearing in of Tulsi Gabbard as the Director of National Intelligence, followed by Trump's remarks. We're going to have more on why in a moment, but travel back in time with me to 2022 when candidate Donald Trump said this about the importance in this nation of free speech.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that.
Last month, on his first day in office, President Trump signed a wave of executive orders, including one called Restoring Freedom of Speech and Ending Federal Censorship. It said, among other things, quote, government censorship of speech is intolerable in a free society, unquote. The same day, President Trump signed another order renaming the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America. And that order is what brings us back to this week. And the initial reason the Associated Press was blocked, the reporter was blocked from entering the Oval Office yesterday, because while the United States government now recognizes the new name, the Gulf of America, and the Gulf of America now shows up on Google Maps, which goes by what the U.S. calls things, Mexico and other countries have not recognized the name change, and that leads the Associated Press to issue this style guidance, quote, the Gulf of Mexico has carried that name for more than 400 years. The Associated Press will refer to it by its original name while acknowledging the new name Trump has chosen, unquote. Sort of like how for a while everyone was still calling X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. Maybe. Anyway, the executive editor of the AP says it was told by the White House yesterday, get on board with our name change or your reporters cannot come to the executive order signing in the Oval Office. And this was that signing that the AP reporter was barred from, where the owner of X, Elon Musk, a self-described free speech absolutist, stood behind the Resolute desk answering questions about DOGE and the dismantling of huge swaths of the federal government without any apparent oversight. The White House, of course, was word policing and punishing the AP. Thus, none of those questions came from the AP, which boasts that 2.6 billion people see its news every year. CNN's Caitlin Collins asked the White House about all this today. Here was the response.
Nobody has the right to go into the Oval Office and ask the President of the United States questions. That's an invitation that is given. And there are hundreds of outlets on this campus, many of you in this room who don't have the privilege of being part of that pool every single day and getting to ask the President questions.
The end result of all this is a chilling effect. It's not really about whatever the AP wants to call the Gulf. It's about whether a president should punish reporters because they're not doing what he wants and not calling things what he wants. And again, this can swing both ways. Back in 2021, the Biden administration's official position, wrongly, was that there was no migrant crisis at the border. A White House official told CNN back then, quote, children coming to our border seeking refuge from violence, economic hardships, and other dire circumstances is not a crisis, unquote. But we in the news media here at CNN, we have eyes and ears, and we called it a crisis because it was a crisis. Would it have been okay for the Biden White House to not allow CNN reporters into the Oval Office because of that? No. Will it be okay with the MAGA movement if future President Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez bans news outlets from entering the Oval Office because they don't use her terminology for whatever issue? Trans Americans, farmers, the border crisis, whatever. And to extend it further, what about Mr. Trump's attempts to unilaterally gut federal agencies or get rid of them without even talking to Congress, such as USAID, or what he wants to do with the Department of Education, or his efforts to render them officially impotent, as is happening right now with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau? What if a Democratic president in the future decides she's going to do the same thing? She's just unilaterally going to not recognize and dismantle ICE. I mean, what if that happens? These standards, they get eroded. And anybody who's lived in Washington knows when the standards are eroded, whether it has to do with pardons or filibuster exemptions or executive actions, they never come back. They just don't. So enjoy presidents deciding access based on compliance with the words that they like. It is a horrible new standard, and everyone applauding it is going to hate it soon enough. Mark Fogel is spending his first full day back in the United States.